Hi and welcome. In this video, we're going to talk about the early history of what is now Great Britain. This is not intended to be an in-depth university-level lecture. It is more of a general overview to help those of you studying for the Life in the UK test. It is not intended to be a replacement for the handbook that you have for the Life in the UK test. It's more of an addition to that, in case having someone tell you about it is easier than reading it. You should still refer to the handbook for your test. This is the 9th in a series of short videos covering different times in British history. If you missed the others, you may wish to watch those first, starting with the Stone Age. But if you're ready, let's find out about the 1300s. First of all, let's look at some of the difficult words you will hear. To resemble means to look like. If you are estranged from someone, it means that you are separated from them and that you no longer feel affection for one another. If something is sealed, it means it has been agreed to and the outcome cannot be changed. Notable means significant or interesting. A dispute can be anything from a minor disagreement to a major battle. Try to match the words to the meanings. And here come the answers. Listen to what happened during the 1300s and try to answer the questions. Under Edward I, Parliament began to resemble the current system more closely. His many wars required a lot of money, and he realised that the best way to get his tax requests agreed to more quickly was to listen to what the people wanted. The elected representatives were able to bring the views and requests of the people to the king, and in turn agree to the king's requests. In this way, the knights, the county representatives, and burgesses, the town representatives, became a permanent part of Parliament. By 1341, these representatives were sitting separately from the king and his nobles, and for the first time there was what was to become the separation of the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Edward I didn't have the same success conquering Scotland as he had Wales. His first attempt had been at the end of the 1200s. This was semi-successful, and he had taken the Scottish King John prisoner. However, the Scottish fought back, led by William Wallace, until Edward captured him in 1305 and had him hanged, drawn and quartered. Edward had hoped this would put an end to Scottish resistance, but by the following year, Scotland had a new king, Robert Bruce, who led a further resistance against the English. Edward I died during an attempted invasion, and his son came to the throne. In 1314, Edward II was defeated by Robert Bruce at the Battle of Bannockburn, and Scotland's independence was sealed. Edward II was not a popular king, and he was murdered in 1327, most likely at the command of his estranged wife and her lover Roger Mortimer, who wanted to rule themselves. When I told you that the Middle Ages had far too many Henrys, I should also have warned you that it also has more than its fair share of Edwards as well. Edward II was succeeded by his son, Edward III. He claimed his throne aged 15, executed Mortimer, and had his mother imprisoned. The most notable events of Edward III's life were the beginning of the 100 Years' War and the Black Death. The most notable facts about the 100 Years' War are that 1. It wasn't one war, but a series of disputes over who had claim to the French throne. And 2. It didn't last for 100 years. It was actually closer to 116 years. The Black Death was significant because it had a huge impact on the social structure of the country. About 1/3 of the population of England, Scotland and Wales died, creating major labour shortages. This meant that the peasants were able to demand higher wages, which led to new social classes. Large landowners moved into the towns, creating a middle class. Edward III's son died, and so when Edward died, he was succeeded by his 14-year-old grandson, Richard. Richard II's rule lasted only 22 years and was very extravagant. He was imprisoned by his cousin, who had a lot of support among the nobility. Richard died in Pontefract Castle in Yorkshire, and so the 1300s ended with the fourth King Henry taking the throne in 1399. Let's just summarise those main points. Parliament under Edward I began to resemble our present system with elected representatives. 1314 was when Parliament split into what is now the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Edward I tried several times to conquer Scotland, but he was unsuccessful. In 1314, Edward II was defeated by Robert Bruce at the Battle of Bannockburn. Edward II was murdered by his wife and her lover. The 100 Years' War began in Edward III's reign. About 1/3 the population of England, Scotland and Wales died of a disease called the Black Death. The labour shortages this caused led to higher wages and new social classes. I hope you found that useful. You may wish to listen again, but if you feel confident, look out for the next video where we'll talk about the 1400s. I look forward to welcoming you back very soon.